Okay, as you may have gathered already, this is what we call Mission Emphasis Sunday. We had one last June, first Sunday in June. And last year we had a representative from Clearview Christian Camp, Ryan Fowler. He presented on that, and it was a wonderful presentation. And actually there was 10 from Gravelburg and an area of kids that went to that. Plus the senior camp, Lauren and I went to that. And we're recruiting other ones to go to the seniors camp. We have 2 over there. Russ and Christine are planning on it. Other ones join us. Let's Start Talking is a program out of Regina. There's by Andrea Muirhead. She's the administrator. There's several this year are going to Estonia is the plan on Let's Start Talking. And if you have further questions on that, we can talk about it later. Basically, they read from the Gospel of Luke, sharing, and they help people learn English by reading from the Gospel of Luke. We've been involved in Zambia Mission Fund. We've been involved in Gentle Road. We have a number 5, a mission assistance ministry to help out in various needs or requests. And actually we sent some money to Mustia Medical Mission for that mission. And our daughter Jen, of course, went on that here recently. And the other one we've been involved with some is Colin and Shelby Gilmore Flying Mission Zambia, and they're over in Zambia right now. So today we have 2 that we're going to emphasize, and that's Zambia, work in Zambia, and also Gentle Road. There's some of us have been to Zambia. Sam and Paulette have, Lorna and I have, and Tiffany's been there several times, she said, with her parents, Richard and Sue Croxgard. And Lane and Tiffany also went to Zambia here recently. So this morning, Rich and Sue and Tiffany put together a presentation. And so Tiffany, we'll just call on you at this time.
All right. Maybe about Clearview first. Last year, my mom and dad and I helped out at Boys Week, and this year again, we're going to help out at Junior Week. Hopefully all those details will come together. So Chet and Daisy will come again. So if there's other kids that age group that want to come, I'll be there. My mom and dad will be there. So it'll be fun. It was in Kenosee, yeah. So it's a great time to, gather with other Christians and just spend time for a week in Bible with other kids and other adults as well. There was a lot of adults helping out last year too, so that was good. Anyways, so Gary asked me to talk, my parents, to share about Zambia. That's Richard and Sue Krogsgaard. And about, I guess, their recent trip to Zambia. So they just came back, I got to think back, March 10th. So they were gone for about a month from February into March. But they're unable to make it here because they're busy doing other missions and involvement. So when they got sent home in 2020 because of COVID from Zambia, I think they felt that they need to do something at home because they weren't able to travel at that time. So they found that there was a need in Regina with immigrants moving in to Regina a lot. So they started conversation classes, and they started with just 2 people coming to classes and 3 volunteers. And over the years, it has grown to about 30 people coming for conversation classes and about 8 to 10 volunteers. So they have lots going on. They are busy. They are retired, but they're not retired. So they're unable to make it, but they're very involved in serving God and serving people and just showing their love for other people. So that's why they're not able to be here. But so I will do my best. Like Gary had said, my parents started going to Zambia in summer mission trips with Steve and Joan when I was about 9 years old, and every kind of second summer we would go. And then when I graduated high school, I went once with my cousin Ashley and my friend Amanda, and then Lane and I went one winter too in January. So my heart is also in Zambia as it's been very impacted from my travels there as well. So I hope I can, do it justice. So think that is it. So Zambia Mission Fund Canada, you can, oh, I can do this, maybe. There, is a place to appreciate God's creation. Zambia, as you can see, down there borders with Zimbabwe and Botswana, and there's a river that goes between Zambia and Botswana that joins, and Victoria Falls is kind of at the border of all that, and it's just beautiful. The experience of just seeing that. So, and then the animals, God has a good creativity and imagination for sure. Animals that we don't see here. So there's a few. And then this is a picture for the farmers. This is good crop, not a great crop. But the last couple years it's been very dry in Zambia, a drought. So they've needed lots of extra feeding programs and different stuff like that. So the average rainfall in Zambia is about 700 millimeters. But in 2022, 2023, this year, they've had a lot, much more. So crops should be a little, quite better this year. Yeah. The next pictures or group of pictures is just life in Zambia, what my parents kind of wanted to show. So you can see the open kitchen, and then they have to gather their own firewood to cook their food outside. And then this is a compound at Seven Fountains Farm. So a place where somebody that is working for one of the white farmers lives. So even though they're working for quite a well-off farmer, life in reality isn't what you would think it would be maybe. And again, their outdoor kitchen there as well. On the far right is a lady pounding her maize. So maize is like a corn, I guess. And when they ground it down, they make it into a porridge-like meal called shima. And it's their staple food in Zambia. And then in the middle, this is a picture of a boy from Malabumba who couldn't get to school. So his feet, as you can see, have some different deformalities, clubfoot. And his parents were kind of involved and then kind of left. So he was left to live with other family and some different people. And there was a lot of the mission, Zambia Mission Fund Canada, is just looking for those people that are left out, right? They're not able to, so he wasn't able to go to school, not being taken care of by his parents. So a lot of the teachers at the school near where he lived were trying to help him out. And they were wanting to help him out. So they went to different clinics to look for support and different things that could be done. And there was, I guess they found out there was some stuff they could do for them for surgeries or different things, but they still have to get permission from the parents. And at the time when my mom was there, the father wouldn't cooperate to give that type of permission for some reason. So just losing that ability and that possibility to go to school. So yeah, my mom is kind of saddened by that, but they'll keep pushing and see if there's more help and support that they can look for. But yeah, that's just kind of part of the goal, is to make sure education is out there for everybody, even those that can't make it. And then in the far right is a picture. Can you see it? It's kind of dark, but there's a sling hanging from the tree, and they're weighing babies. So they have under 5 clinics that go out to all these smaller communities, and there's no clinic in the community, so they would have to, I don't know, 30, 50 kilometers to get to a clinic, if not further, to take their babies to get weighed or to do different things like that. So these clinics happen, and they try to support these babies and catch them when they're young, if they're getting enough food or nutrition, and they just notice kind of that kind of stuff and do immunizations and vaccinations at that time as well. So the government in these smaller communities have had supports from like different agencies like World Vision and different things like that, but they've built a building, but the government isn't providing funding to provide a nurse to be out there as well. So there's that disconnection between helping aides and then the government helping pay for a nurse to be there, to be in the community. So that's why these outreaches are important as well. And just the reminder that there's little access to healthcare in the bush. So if these people are sick or needy, it's very hard to get to a clinic or get somewhere like Colomo to get help. This is a family at the blind community, which when I probably mentioned that, some of you know or recognize that, called Simikakata. And Simikakata is a community where our seed and fertilizer program that Gravelberg has funded and given money towards supports this community. So providing them with seed and fertilizer so they can grow their food for the year to feed them. So this is a picture of Precious. And then Precious, I think when Lane and I were there, she had two twins, and they weren't doing so well, and she wasn't doing so well with her mental health. But since then has received health and is on medication, doing quite well and quite functional to help with the family. So the gentleman in the back is the father or grandfather, and then the grandmother is there. My mom has said the grandfather has passed this last year, so he is not there anymore. But the grandmother has these 3 daughters and all these children all in the same place, taking care of each other and growing and doing all the farm work to make sure they feed their family. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but my mom writes, for the poor, Zambia is still a place of food insecurity, not education for all, inadequate access to healthcare, and wage inequality. So looking at even the big white farmers or other farmers that are there are not paying very much for the people that they're hiring to even survive off. So yeah, there is much need. This is Colomo. This is shopping in Colomo. So different people have their different shops, and you can see that this one place is called My Prayer Flower House. So maybe a little bit different. They like to show their Christian presence, and you can just see it everywhere. And my mom was talking about, like, they're not afraid to show it, whereas maybe more in Canadian culture, we're kind of a little bit more scared to show it, right? And they're not. It's what they live by, and everybody knows about God and his presence in the community. So yeah, it's kind of cool because it's different. Even their government teachers or government leaders recognize and open their board meetings with prayer. So it's very different maybe compared to here. So his presence is known. So I just wanted to show that. Different and very cool. This is a picture of a whole bunch of outhouses at Sia Balumbi. So she wanted to put that in. But in the middle, there is a hand wash station. But, and I kind of said, like, oh, is that a hand wash station, Mom? And she says, yeah. But usually I would show up and go to the school and there wouldn't be water in it. And she'd have to make sure, who's the teacher in charge of making sure there's water? Like, these kids are going to the bathroom and then just going back to the classroom. Like, anyways, so she's very nurse-minded and thinking, this is there. Why can't we keep it going in a healthy way? So anyways, that's there. All right. This is a favorite Zambian writer of mine says this. I'll just read this. It should not be possible to get from there to here in less than 2 days because mentally and emotionally it is impossible. The shock is too much, the contrast too raw. We should sail or swim or walk from Africa, letting bits of her drop out of us, and gradually in this way assimilate the excess and liberties of our home country in tiny incremental sips. So, it's definitely the extremes, right? Like, we are very privileged to live in a country with lots, and we take far too much for granted. The one picture here is a boy, probably about Chet's age, I would assume. having to be creative. Children are resourceful in Zambia, and they'll find anything they can around, some wire, some tin cans, rubber, plastic balls to make their own toys. They gather up garbage bags and straw and make a ball for like a soccer ball to kick around. Anything they can just to have fun. So, that's good for them too. And then another picture here of two ladies just showing what Zambian life is like. So they went to Colombo Town likely, and they got a few goods that they are going to go sell just to make a little bit of extra money. So yeah, that's that picture there. All right, so these are some of the fruits of God's people working together within Zambia Mission Fund Canada from the past 23 years. So the different numbers I'm going to talk about that they're going to outline of just things that God has done in the work there. So around 1,000 students have been sponsored, and that's preschool through university into trade schools. And out of the program, there's been doctors, lawyers, social workers, teachers, accountants, and electricians. So lots of people that wouldn't have had a job like that without Zambia Mission Fund Canada. 5 communities have gone from a small church under a tree to a good-sized brick church building. Elders. There's schools, there's classrooms, including science laboratories, computer labs, and small libraries. And almost 1,300 kids are in these schools that Zambia Mission Fund Canada has started. So lots of kids. There also is a lunch program at these schools, so 3 times a week, and it's usually during the first and last terms of school, kind of before their maize crop is ready to eat, that they need this meal program. There is no electricity in any of the community schools. There's just not access. It's too far off the road, really. So computers, if they have a computer lab, they're run off of a generator. And the school-community admin is in charge in finding money for the diesel to run this computer lab. So if they want to use it, then they have to fund it themselves. There are 32 teachers are provided, and a small salary through Zambia Mission Fund Canada grant is given to each community school as well. And there are more than 50 communities-churches that have benefited from the seed and fertilizer program. So that's really good. And then out of the 84 schools in the Colombo School District, which is that southern part of Zambia, the 5 Christian community schools score in the top 15 of academically their marks. So they're a little bit different than us. In grade 9 and grade 12, they take a standardized test for the students all across Zambia, and they post all their grades. So they post each kid and what grade they got in grade 9 and grade 12, and then they also show which kids got the best grades at which schools. So it's cool to see that our schools that were maybe under a tree have now risen to the top schools in that region and providing some of the best education to the school students in Zambia. So what does Zambia Mission Fund Canada do? So this is really the core. They offer student sponsorship, a seed and fertilizer program, milk formula program, and provide and maintain community schools. So this is what Mom and Dad wrote here. Bit by bit, over 25 years, God has made a difference using the hands, feet, and voices of the ZMFC team. We thank God. Since returning home, we've done some reflecting. How did ZMFC get to this place? With all kingdom work, it is not done by chance, but with a team of God's people willing to serve together. What is happening in Zambia is something we did not see in 1998. We didn't envision what is seen in 2023, but at the start, as a team, we decided together to share the love of Jesus and serve the vulnerable in Zambia as a daily way forward. And as a team, we committed to valuing and growing in our relationship with Jesus, surrendering our hearts, hands, and voices to God's purposes, and we value children, Christian education, partnering with communities, and more. God has always revealed a way forward and granted us peaceful relationships, despite the unexpected challenges and the diversity of our team members. We have worked together for the sake of his kingdom, and God has blessed the planting of little seeds. A foundation was built, and God has blessed this work. So this is lots of pictures of different people that are involved and board members and church leaders. So on the top left here, you can see Wilson and Nancy Ciozillo. And then to the right, you have just in the red there, Mr. Mutanga, and he helps Root with anything school stuff, with the sponsorship programs, monitoring the teachers, making sure they're planning, they're providing that quality education, and with the sponsor students if they have any needs or needs aren't getting met with bedding or clothing or food or whatever it is. And then next to him is Babylon Kiajilo, who is a spiritual advisor who goes out to all the 50 different communities and connects with the church elders and leaders in the church and just asks if there's community needs out in these different communities as well. To the right is Steve's sister, Marlene, who and her husband, who is the accountant advisor for ZMFC. And then on the far right is Steve and Joan Mann. And then down here is Shepherd and Root Mumwai. And on the far right over there are my parents, Richard and Sue. And then in the middle, this was the night before they were about to all leave. Nancy put together a big meal party and got all the different community people that have been involved in ZMFC to come. Friends, teachers, people that helped in the farm with anything, taking care of the yard there as well. So everybody was kind of there, and they just felt blessed to reconnect and say goodbye. With ZMFC and the community schools, the church is really at the heart of the program or of each school. And this is Colomo Secondary School Sponsors Church. So they just meet in a classroom on Sunday mornings and gather together, and the kids lead the worship. We went there a couple times, and one's doing the communion, one's doing the message. Sometimes they call on us, Lane or Dad or whoever, to do something. You have to be spur of the moment, ready to share whatever. So, but it's good. They're great. So on Saturdays, the sponsored kids do volunteer work. They give back. So we encourage volunteering, and they are receiving, so it's good for them to also give back. So they get together. This is a picture of them going to Seven Fountains Farm to do some yard work, some clean work, anything that needs to be done. And then they also always have a devotional singing time together as well. So they're having refreshments and doing that right there. Sponsor students that have completed grade 12 are college trained are now also teaching in some of the different Christian community schools. So this was, Mom said, a sponsor student that they sponsored a long time ago and now is a teacher in one of the community schools as well. So it's cool to see the fruits of them blessing children in the program now as well. This is a picture of the milk program. So every third Monday, monthly, there's people that need milk. So they come to Nancy Ciozillo and Mrs. Muntanga are kind of running this program and making sure the needs are met. So there are 10 families that come to the farm to receive 6 tins of milk formula. So you can see over there, that lady's got her 6 tins ready to go. And they make relationships with these women or grandmothers that are coming to get the milk formula, and they share milk and share love, my mom says. So they just connect and make sure the babies are healthy, beyond just filling their bellies as well. On the left here, my mom just kind of wrote what a prayer need would be praying for little baby Douglas. He has many deformities and a heart defect, and the mother is mentally ill. So the baby actually lives with grandmother, and that's why this baby is on the milk program, because there is need for that. So that is one need to pray for sure. In the middle, you can see there is Mrs. Ciazilo, and then Mrs. Mutanga, who helps, is on the, you just see part of her face there, though. It's on the left there. All right, this is a family that had triplets. So this is just another neater story about needing the milk program. So this couple went on the milk program. Both of these parents are government teachers, but they still need support. There is no way that she would be able to go back to work if the milk program wasn't there, or even just feed 3 babies on their own. So she got a 3-month leave from teaching and then was back teaching. And my mom said she had different community girls maybe that have graduated and not gone off to school, just helping, being involved. So there's a lot of community involvement in raising children. So relatives came to help, and the babies could stay with the family and whoever was supporting them, and the milk program would help out too. Okay, so this is the school lunch feeding program. So you can see the kids will line up, they'll make the shima outside, and the kids will line up for their food. And there's a couple boys eating their shima. And that's what a pot of shima looks like. So it's ground, when I say maize, and they mix it with water and serve it up kind of like mashed potatoes, but not a lot of flavor in them.
You might interject, Lorna and your mom, I remember them
Stirring the big pot. Yeah. It's hard to stir the big pot once it gets that thick too, yeah. It's a lot of work. So the women and men in the community come together and make the food program. It's not ZMFC people. The community does that. They provide the shima and whatever else is being served with it, and then the community members have to step up to cook it, to provide it for the kids at the school. And usually the shima is served as, you can see there's another pot there, a veg mix they made up, or beans or kapenta. So they get something 3 times a week. Yeah. All right. This is just a slide talking about community development and providing quality education. So Root strives for and encourages the teachers to provide quality education for the students so they can have the best future for them as well. And THRAS is a teaching method for learning English that the kids catch on to really quickly. And Root encourages you find creative ways to teach the kids. So the teachers paint on the side of the buildings so the kids can see this. So they go beyond just teaching the classroom. They paint, they get it out there so the kids can see this all the time. So that's just a picture of that. All right, so this is a picture of Butali School, which is one of the most recently developed schools. So just in the last 7-8 years, it has become this. This was not there when we were there before. So there's a picture of a new computer lab that is just came. What else? Yes, the 2 people here. Beauty on the left, who was formerly sponsored by Tim and Krista, so my brother and sister-in-law, is now teaching at Butali School. And Modesta is on the far right. And she went to school, and then she was just in the community. She didn't have money to go to school or secondary school to become a teacher, but she really wanted to become a teacher. So she would just show up and she would just volunteer. It's not uncommon for people in Zambia to volunteer. I'm not doing anything else, I'm gonna go help. And Root recognized and saw that Modesta was just there. And she asked her and talked to her about sponsoring her to be able to go to school because she was volunteering. That's what she wanted to do. And now she is teaching too at Butali School. So yeah, very neat. All right. And there should be a video. So we just wanted to provide a video so you can see one of the sponsored students. So the video, hopefully that will play, is a student at Butali School named Ice. So we'll see what she has to say.
Good morning, Ice. How are you?
Good morning, Madam. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Where are we today?
We are here at Butari.
Where did you go to school before you came to Butali?
Mamba GRZ Secondary School.
Oh, that's a long way. Yes. So what grade did you start here at Butali?
In grade 3.
And now you are?
In grade 9.
Grade 9. Wow, this is an important year for you.
Thank you.
Yes. So what is the difference between your school before and your school now here at Butali?
The standard of learning here is above average.
And what else happens?
The feeding program
When does that happen?
in 2020.
Oh.
Okay, and what do you eat at a feeding program?
KFC and shrimp.
Okay, good. How far do you walk to school?
We just at least 5 kilometers.
At least 5 kilometers. Well, it's nice. And why do you wear a red tie?
I'm a prefect.
Oh, that means you're a well-behaved girl.
Yes.
I wish you the best for all your school education. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A nurse.
She wants to be a nurse.
Yes.
Right. Well, our blessings are with you. Do well. Nice to meet you, Ice.
Thank you, Sir
Bye.
Johnny.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I didn't mention, I forgot, that Butali School is about 45 minutes off the highway on a really rough, bangy, bumpy road. So she said in her video that she every day has to travel and walk 5 kilometers to school, go to school, and then walk 5 kilometers home. And that's not uncommon for a lot of the kids attending school, if not further, some of them, even when they're really, really young. So yeah. I think there's 2 videos then. Oh, so let's go back. I didn't realize my mom snuck it in there. All right, so here is a new program that we've started because of some of the students do have to walk and travel so far. 4 schools will receive a few bicycles for some of the pupils who live a long distance from school and have good behavior. So this project has already begun just last week. So Root and Shepherd will, along with some of their helpers, find out the needs for those that are traveling that far and provide bikes for those families. So the bikes are 3,811 kwacha, which works out to about $280 a bike. So quite reasonable and very good bikes. So that'll be, and provide a way to break down those boundaries so these students can get to school. Another program, the Seed and Fertilizer program. And just this year and maybe last year, the government is starting to come in with more assistance with this. So, and always when the government comes in to help, ZMFC tries to back out and let the government help out their communities as well. So therefore, money that has been allocated to Seed and Fertilizer program can now be shared with the school feeding program. And for a salary for Mr. Babylon Kajolo, the spiritual advisor that I kind of mentioned to talk about, and he will go to the communities as well to see where the need is. Babylon, here's a little more. Babylon visits about 60 churches and communities in all, teaching and encouraging and estimating education, food, and spiritual needs in those different 60 communities. So he has a big job on his plate too. So this is just a picture of some 2023 reunions that they had and just what they wanted to show. So here is a picture of Joan and Milimo, who is a daughter of Mildred. Mildred was a lady who worked on Seven Fountains Farm and just helped out with everything from cooking to cleaning and anything that was there. So Mildred was a very good friend of ours who died about 10 years ago. And now Milimo, her daughter, is a nurse. But like I had said before, the government isn't always hiring nurses in different places. So at this point in time, she's just volunteering her time in a clinic until hopefully one day, she'll be hired. So, yeah. And in the middle picture, the little girl's name is little Natasha. And baby Natasha, now a 5-year-old was helped with the milk formula program when her mom died, and now she lives with her grandmother, Mrs. Swindy. So that's just another cool thing to see 5 years later. Underneath is Sue with her Saturday school, so she got to do this again. They started 3 years ago. Before COVID, they would get together with some of the kids in the community at Seven Fountains Farm, and they were just doing, I think, math together, English together, whatever it is, just to be with the kids. And then on the right is a picture of Queen, one of our aunties. When the Seven Fountains Farm was doing orphanage care, they just got to reconnect with her, so she came for a visit as well. And it's always a warm welcome. They feel very welcomed when mom and dad go, so they wanted to share that. And above all, it is a renewal to see faith in Christians in Zambia. So this is kind of what they've left as a message for themselves and for us as well, that may we in Canada rise to grow in faith as the Zambians have done with or without stuff. So there's a lot going on in Zambia and a lot of people involved, and God's work is being done. So that's it.
Quick introduction. I want to introduce you to some of the people of Gentle Road, give you a little update on the last couple of years, what we do or what opportunities we have to serve, and then I'll end with a couple of prayer requests. So, as I said, Kevin and Lisa Vance are their names. We moved into North Central. We moved into the community in 2011. Not far from Taylor Field is where we live, in that neighborhood. And we're church planters, so that means we're starting new kinds of churches in new places for new to Jesus people. So in our world, there's lots of people that don't know Jesus or don't know someone who has a meaningful walk with Jesus, and so that's what church planting is and what we're about. We're part of a network of church planters called Mission Alive, which is the U.S. side, Mission Alive Canada. Now we have an organization in Canada for this. We're planting innovative churches, so sort of creative churches being started in marginalized communities. So communities where there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of challenges in various ways of being marginalized. So that's a quick introduction to Mission Alive Canada. Our vision is to plant 20 churches in the toughest areas in Canada. So if you imagine where those might be, this is a map from Maclean's magazine with the areas where at least 50% of the households earn $40,000 or less. So that's total household income. All those red dots, the red areas are all areas where that is the case. So if you look at a large map of Saskatchewan, you see a lot of rural areas. I imagine a lot of those are reserves, but not just reserves. So a few questions, just kind of thought questions. Where's the poverty in Saskatchewan? We have different kinds of poverty. We have poverty among Indigenous people, but we also have poverty among newcomers to Canada. And we have a lot of Filipinos who work in the Tim Hortons, right? And they make minimum wage or so. And so what are the issues? What are the needs of people in poverty in those communities? There's other types of poverty as well. Students who are maybe graduate students or even doctoral students who don't have any income, but they're getting education to go on to be something, do something. So all kinds of different types of poverty, and what are the needs of each kind. But anyways, so when you think of church planting, don't think of a building, think of people. Think of a community of people, a family of Christians going on mission with God, and I'll explain what that means when I say going on mission with God, what that really means. So this is a picture of some of our folks. We probably have over half, 50 to 60% of our people are Indigenous. And so a number of them are in this picture here, and I'll introduce you to some of those in a second. So the people of Gentle Road, we have just a quick who some of the folks are. Sharon Morasti is a member of the Flying Dust First Nation that's up by Meadow Lake. There's some 74, 76 First Nations in Saskatchewan. Brenda Sear is a member of the George Gordon First Nation that's up by Punachai. Leila Arndt is from Sapatoyak Cree Nation in Manitoba. That's up north of Swan River in Manitoba. She actually grew up in Vancouver. Actually saw her best friend get murdered on the streets of Vancouver. and has had a lot of trauma and hardship in her life. And so some of these stories, as we get to know the people, are just really, really heartbreaking. Nicole Williams, member of Pasqua First Nation, which is by Fort Qu'Appelle. Nick and Vivian Helliwell. Nick is from Pepecasis, also near Fort Qu'Appelle, and Vivian is from White Bear, down by Kenosi Lake. They have been Christians for over 25 years, and he's been a pastor for 25 years. And they're elders in the traditional way, in the Indigenous way, and also dedicated Christians. And so they've been part of General Road the last year. So we've been really blessed to have them as part of our fellowship. Last year we had 10 people baptized into Christ. Credence Papaquash, his shortened name is Cree, student in grade 9 or 10, grade 10 I think, and just really loves basketball and has done really well in basketball, and got baptized last June. All of these pictures from the baptisms are from June. Araceli Contreras, she's Hispanic partially. Sarah Wilson is a neighbor from down our block. Dave Sentis, a new family to us last year, and Chris Posehn. These are some of the folks that have come to us over the last year. So just kind of a random sample of people. This is a group of us, Lisa in the middle, and then several friends, Indigenous friends, and our daughter at the Legislative Building. I think it was July 1st, a year and a half ago. As we've gotten to know Indigenous people, you know, it was what, a year and a half ago where, you know, some of the discoveries of unmarked graves started to come out. And so I think that was a really landmark moment for us as Canadians. And it sort of verified a lot of the stories that the Native people tell about what happened at residential schools. And so some of the trauma and some of the hardships that they've been through. I remember one time, I don't have a picture of her here, but her name was Margaret Akachuk from White Bear. This is probably 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. We went out for lunch at a soup kitchen in Regina, and it was kind of a slow day, so we had a whole table to ourselves. So just she and I were visiting, and I sat across the table from her, and we just chatted while we had soup and bannock together. And I just asked her lots of questions about her life and things. She had been an alcoholic, lost her kids to the system, lived in Alberta, spent a year on the street in Calgary, living on the street. So I asked her, like, did you, like, over the winter? She said, yes. I said, how did you survive? And she said, I lived downtown between office buildings. I slept on exhaust grates to stay warm. I sometimes had a cat. Sometimes I didn't. She loved cats. She passed away a couple years ago, dear friend of ours. She loved cats. She had a sign in her house that said, the more I get to know men, the more I love cats. So she had a great sense of humor. But as that day, as I sat across the table from her, I was just overwhelmed as I listened to her and all the trauma that she's been through in her life. Been beaten, never went to residential school because when the police and the Indian agent came around to collect to the Sakamay First Nation where she grew up, her parents always said, go hide in the bush, the big bush, they call it. So she went and hid in the bush as a young girl for a couple days till they left. So she never went to residential school because, you know, the parents and grandparents had experienced a lot of trauma at the schools, and so they try to protect their kids in different ways from some of that as much as they could. But anyways, as I sat across the table from her, her and I visited for an hour, and I kind of broke down at the end because, you know, I felt like here's me, a white guy who grew up in a poor family actually as a kid. But you know, there's no way in the rest of my life probably that I will ever experience the kinds of trauma that she had experienced in her life. A year on the street in Calgary, having lost her kids to the system. She eventually got clean and sober and got her daughter back from foster care and so on. But there's just so many stories. Each of these people have a story. I won't go into many more detail because we have a time frame. but it's humbling. Lisa and I are humbled to get to work among these people. And we're honored to be friends with them and to learn from them. And there's just amazing stories and resilience. They talk a lot about resilience, just incredible strength to overcome trauma and to grow and to survive and even thrive. So beautiful, beautiful people. So a quick update about our church. So we planted Gentle Road 12 years ago. Gentle Road is not actually a street in Regina. It's named after, what time is it? Keep an eye on the clock. So in the Indigenous culture, the path of clean and sober living is called the Red Road. So we took the road part from the Red Road, and we took the word gentle from Jesus' teaching, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, come unto me, for I'm gentle and lowly, and you will find rest for your souls. So we put the gentle with the road, and that's why we came up with the name. So it's more of a spiritual metaphor of the path of clean and sober living and following Jesus. So anyway, so Gentle Road, we got this building a year and a half ago. It's an old Anglican building. We actually lease it. We don't own it. And it's over 100 years old. It's got, some people walk in and they're like, oh, it smells like a barn. So it's got that old smell, but it's a kind of a beautiful building, some stained glass windows. But since then, we've had some neat things happen. I'll show you a little bit of what's happened. We moved in the fall of 2021. We were kind of homeless. We were trying to be like the people. Before that, we were homeless during COVID. Anyway, so what we did was when we moved in, we said, let's freshen up the building. So this is before and after. We painted the whole, which side is the south side? The south side of the building. So we give it a fresh look, put on white eavesdrops. And then this is the alley. So a lot of what they call tagging or graffiti happens, and a lot of it's gang related. So gangs mark their territory by different things. Some of this looks like graffiti was actually art that was done by the people that own the church building. Anyways, so so part of what we do is we try to beautify the buildings, and that helps to just make things look better. And part of what we say is that this is what God does. This is the kingdom of God. Our lives are old and tired and worn down, and families and our community gets worn down by all of this sin and all of this darkness. But the kingdom of God is about a new start. It's a new start for you. It's a new start for your family. It's a new start for this community. So that's part of what we do, is to bring beauty and renewal to the community in a physical way. These are some of our attendance numbers. So in the fall of 2021, we moved into the church building. Our Sunday attendance was averaging 29. A year later, we averaged 53. And now just the last 3 months, first 3 months of 2023, we've averaged 66. So moving into the building, the first 10 years took us kind of to build up to 29 people. And now we've kind of doubled that. And so that's really exciting for us to be in that community. If you're wondering where that is, it's at the corner of 7th and Garnet Avenue, which is, if you know where Scott Collegiate or Albert School is, we're right in the middle of those two schools. So opportunities to serve. There's tons of opportunities. There's tons of needs that you'll see here in just a second. But because Jesus loves North Central, so do we. And these are actual handprints from a bunch of our people that wanted to be part of this. So what do we do? As I said a minute ago, we beautify the neighborhood. That's one of the opportunities. There's a lot of graffiti that happens even on garage doors. So this garage door had graffiti on it. And so we're painting a mural here that says love, mercy, and has a buffalo and a dove, and just beautiful. So so part of what we do is we not only beautify the neighborhood, we engage the youth of the community in the project. So these are some of the high school kids that helped us a year and a half ago with the murals. And that's a really important thing for us, is that we want to engage the community, want to engage the youth, We want them to bring their skills. And, artists don't always have a lot of opportunity in the church to express themselves. So this is a way that artists can be engaged as well. We clean alleys. This is sort of a forever need, clean the alley, and a week later it's sort of back to where it was. But still, we do that to help the community. These, again, are our high school kids. One thing we started doing the last year and a half, we make 200 lunches for the street every month. And these are mostly high school kids in the foreground here. But we make the lunches and then we go out and we take them to the street. And we try to meet people that need a lunch, and we try to pray with them if they want prayer, and we just encourage them. And some of them are like, what do you need prayer for? And it's like, well, I lost my kids to the system, and in order to get them back, I need to get clean and sober, and I need to get a house. And so, we pray for those things for them. So it can be pretty raw sometimes, but it is really a meaningful thing. We don't ask people to come and get the sandwiches. We actually take them out to the community. And I'll explain why in a minute. These are two of our youngest helpers. The girl on the left, her name is Thunder Sky. It's a beautiful name. And so she's about 7. So these are some of our youngest helpers. But one of the things we do is, similar to what's happening, they're doing in Zambia, we invite the community to come in and help us make the lunches. There's tons of organizations that give out lunches. Come to our door, here's a lunch. Then they come back tomorrow. We could make 200 lunches a day and hand them out, but we just do it once a month, and we ask the community to come in and help us. So if people say like, "Hey, I need some lunches," I say, "Well, come on down and help us." And it's interesting, the people that suddenly don't need a lunch because they don't come and help. I'm like, that's okay. We're not here just to hand out lunches. We're here to build relationship. We're here to build community. And there's a difference between relief and development. Relief is just handing out lunches. You do that forever. But development is like, okay, let's build community. Let's get the people involved. If you need lunches, come and help us. Be a part of it. And last month, we had 38 people there making lunches, and it was just a beautiful time. Let me back up. We don't do all these things every day or every week or even every month, well, the lunches we make every month. But these are just different ways we serve, we get involved in the community to help people. So I don't want you to think that we do these things every day, all day, because I'll explain a little more about that in a sec. So homeless people, there's lots of homeless people in Regina. I think the latest count was somewhere in around 700 people unhoused, and some of that's kind of soft number in the sense of people couch surf with friends and family and stuff like that. But anyways, between about 80 to 90% of those are Indigenous people. And so even though in Saskatchewan about 14% of the population is Indigenous, this is a challenge for them to be housed. And a lot of them are addicted and have mental health issues. So anyways, one of the ladies here in this picture was baptized last summer. She was homeless. She was living in an alley. And Nick and Vivian, I told you about before, the Native couple that's been Christians for 25 years. They were related to her, and they went and helped her, got her blankets, got her off the street. She got baptized. And it's definitely a struggle, but anyways, those are the kinds of things that we do sometimes as needs come up. We support at-risk youth, build relationships, take them to the hospital when needed, and by that I mean to the psych ward, adolescent psychiatry, been up there lots. Those of you that work with youth or know about sort of mental health, what's happening among youth right now, the numbers of youth with anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts are just going up. COVID has done a number on that community, and so, and not just COVID, technology also, these things are part of it. Anyways, so we're involved in supporting the kids and walking through those challenges with them, and we trained our people in ASSIST, which is suicide intervention. We've gone up north to Lac La Ronge, Montreal Lake, where some of the suicides of young girls have happened over the last number of years. Try to be a presence there and love on the community. So all of that, if I just stopped there, you would think, oh, we're doing a lot of good things in the community and we're spending all our time and energy. But actually, this slide is really important because we actually, at the heart of it, is that we actually teach people the Bible. And this is a picture from a couple weeks ago. Our Tuesday night youth group with middle school kids all have a Bible, the Action Bible, and we're talking about the creation story, and we're starting to go through and give them the big picture of the Bible. And so we want to be there and we want to help people, but our ultimate goal is to help make disciples, to help people follow Jesus, and that in that is the freedom that they need to deal with, cope with their issues and grow and become who God created them to be. So that's a big part of what we do, the biggest part. This is a picture, 12 o'clock. Two kids named Adam and Janaea. Adam's 4, Janaea is 7. I don't know the whole story. They just came to us the last couple of months. But there's no dad in the picture. I don't know where he is. Sometimes the guys are in jail. Sometimes they're just gone, whatever. And they're moving. The mom's going up to PA to go into treatment. So it's a family treatment center. They're all left on Friday. This picture is from Thursday night before they left. We got to say goodbye. And there's no dad in their life. So they're just climbing on me. It's like they confused me for monkey bars because they were just climbing all over me, and we were roughhousing for 5 or 10 minutes, and I asked somebody to take a picture. The mom has been clean now for 11 months, clean and sober, but feels the need for more treatment. And so it's just a joy to be there for these families. We helped her move out of her place on Thursday, get her stuff into storage. She's going to come back in a few months when she's done treatment. The kids will come back, but to be able to love on these kids and to be a healthy father figure, grandpa figure, a mushum, as they say in Cree, that's a grandpa. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's just the presence and love of Jesus. So you guys all make that possible for us to do. Here's a picture. 2 weeks ago today, we did a little ceremony. We're in Ephesians 2, talking about reconciliation. And so Nick and I had a conversation. What does reconciliation look like in the church between Indigenous people and, us Caucasians, us European descent people? We just talked back and forth. And then at the end, we washed each other's feet. I washed his feet, he washed my feet. And that was, I think, a beautiful picture of the mutuality, the equality, that we are one in Christ. God has brought us together, and together in Christ we are reconciled, not only to each other, but to God. So that was a really tender moment for us. So quickly, our prayer requests. First of all, for more pies with GR on them. That's a prayer request. That people will love Jesus first and foremost. Jesus said that we should seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the other things will be given unto us, the clothes, the food, the needs that we have. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. So that's the first and biggest prayer request, is that people will learn to follow Jesus and love him first. Secondly, I mentioned this youth. We have a lot of youth who are self-harming. They're cutting, they're pulling their hair, they're just different ways of harming themselves as an expression of frustration and struggle. And so suicidal thoughts. So I put Matthew 3 here because this is where Jesus was baptized, and the Father said, over Jesus, he spoke to Jesus and he said, "You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." And our goal and our heart is for every youth to know that God loves them and they belong in his family. And the third prayer request is for God to raise up more leaders within Gentle Road. Leaders, like I said, as we've grown in numbers, we need more leaders to help lead everyone, make disciples, and also church planters to go out and plant other churches in other communities as well. So those are our prayer requests. Gary, we have 5 minutes? Thank you again from our hearts, from all the people in General Road and North Central Regina that you have been a part of touching. We thank you. God bless you. Oops. 5 more minutes? Oh, I can always share. But,
For just a few minutes.
okay, just even a minute, I would say. Well, I guess I would just say that, so we moved into the hood 12 years ago, and part of why we did that was, in listening to the people as we'd gotten to know them previously, they said the people who, they think about people who live in the inner city differently than people who live in the suburbs. We lived in the suburbs, and we moved into the inner city because so the people would identify with us, and in a sense that they wouldn't if we were just kind of out in the community, out in the suburbs and commuting in. Do you know what I mean? So we call that the incarnation. When God wanted to send his most important message to the world, he didn't send a book, he sent a person. He sent Jesus, who was born of a woman, who was a Jew, who walked the dusty roads of Palestine. And so the incarnation is the model for mission for us. And so my encouragement to you is that you are the message. Your business, your teaching career, your nursing, your farm, your operation, whatever it is, as you live that out, you are the message. And where are the areas of brokenness? Where are the areas of poverty in this community? I don't know. I don't know what those are, but may God bless you and empower you to be his people in this place for his kingdom.